วัสดีค่ะยินดีต้อนรับนักวิเคราะห์และนักลงทุนทุกท่าน
Good afternoon, all analysts and investors, to this last session of INTOUCH Group Half-Year Analyst Meeting 2021. You can select your preferred language in the interpretation icon at the bottom of your Zoom screen. And in this last session, I would like to invite you to meet with the INTOUCH Group Holding Public Company Limited and also our three executives. The first is Mr. Anek Phana-Apishon, the Chief Executive Officer. The second is Mr. Kim Siri Tawichai, Chief Financial Officer. And third is Mr. Narongpon Bunsong Paisan, the Vice President and Venture Capital and Business Development, and also after the presentation, we will give the floor to the Q&A session for the analysts and also the investors. For those who have questions, you can submit your questions through the chat box in Zoom. There are two modes of Q&A session. You can submit your questions in the chat and I will ask the executives directly for you, or you can also ask the questions directly to the executives as well. Firstly, I would like to invite Mr. Anek to present to the analysts and investors. The floor is yours. So good afternoon, all analysts. I see that over the last two sessions, there is a questions relating to the new shareholder, which is Gulf. Gulf is holding 42%, and also second to that is Singtel at 21%, and all others, including the institutional investors, make up 25%. We're still running the business as is, and the current stage is that the shareholders are discussing among each other, and they will nominate someone to join us at the board level, and that process should be completed soon. Also, after we have the new board of directors, we will review the business plans and also the objectives and strategic direction. And if the requirements affect the resources or the company structure, that would be the next step that we have to consider. And if there is going to be any significant change, the company will communicate to the analysts. Please mute your microphone if you're not speaking. Also, the presentation today will be on the as-is basis. Thaicom and AS has already presented their point of view, which is quite comprehensive, and also the revenue drivers and enterprise fixed broadband. So in terms of in the capacity as the shareholder, I think that Thaicom is still facing a challenge. Other than operating the Thaicom 7 and 8, they also have to conclude with the NT with a concession of Thaicom 4 and 6, and also in their process of bidding in the new orbital slot that will have to be based on the reasonable investment plan, and also the opportunity of having new investment, a new player. We think that Thaicom would need to join in partnership with other operators, because these international operators are also looking forward to having Thai partners as well. In terms of new businesses, they should be new partners other than Nava, and it has to still undergo the development. I would say that they would need to seek a business opportunity that would require satellite-related expertise in order to provide services to enterprise clients, but that depends on the exploration of business opportunities with government agencies, and also they need to manage the FX or exchange rate. That is one of the challenges that they're facing. In terms of INTOUCH and Invent, we are now starting to explore the fund of funds and also the major builder, and Mr. Narongpon is going to touch upon the topic in the presentation. So basically, we're still focusing on our two main assets, and we're still seeking new in the investment opportunities, whether in startups or the establishment of startups or in terms of the money already invested. If there is an opportunity for us to shift or to adjust the investment, we will have to attend to that as well. And we can see that in the area that we're working, there may be the overlapping or supporting of investments of our shareholders in terms of startups as well. So we'll have to consider the collaboration with our shareholders as well. And Dr. A to Z is one of the startups that we invested and established during the COVID-19, and I think that this is a startups with a potential higher value. And now this particular startup is providing assistance to the green COVID patient who requires home isolation. The startup will provide 3 meals a day and also medical supplies. And Dr. A to Z is our work with a number of other organizations, about 20 other organizations, and these includes logistics, supplies, food and drinks, and also supported by the set as well. And this is one of the examples that have been invested in at the time when they can enhance a great value. For the next session, I would like to Kun Kim to present on the performance aspect. So good afternoon. First of all, what I would like to report to the analyst is the TSR of INTOUCH. The TSR of InTouch increased 8.6%. This comes from the tender offer with Golf. And also, Mr. Anek has already reported that Golf is holding now 42.5% of the shares. Even though the tender offer has been completed, but the share price is still at the level of 63 to 64 baht per share. Also, when the share price increase, the discount to NAV will be improved as well. So for discount to NAV, originally it was in the two-digit figure. Now has been decreased to less than 10%. Next slide, please. In terms of performance, in the first half of 2021, our subsidiaries, being AS and Thaicom, they had already provided info on that. So in terms of profit, we have about 5.4 billion profit with a slight decrease, and that comes from the lower profit distribution from AS and also Thaicom. Last year, they have extra gain from the compensation income from the Thaicom 5 that has been deorbited. So for this year, the revenue of Thaicom 5, there will be no revenue from Thaicom 5. That's why the overall performance of Thaicom will be lower than last year. In terms of dividend, we are still paying dividend on the pass-through basis at 1.23 per share and implying 2.1% of dividend yield at the share price of 63 to 64 baht per share. For Invent portfolio, the total investment cost is about 991 million. The value for this year, the value of the Invent portfolio increases to 1.4 billion baht, which is about 8% from the beginning of the year at 1.3 billion baht. And the main reason for the increase is that we have invested in the edtech company, Conical, which is an edtech company, and we were able to successfully raise fund as well during the first half of the year. So that is why our portfolio is now growing. In the overview, we can see that we diversified our investment if we want to highlight on health tech and eth tech, we can see that and this year, also the years to come, we will see higher proportion of investment in these health tech and also ed tech as well, which will be presented by Mr. Narongpon. During the COVID-19 situation, what is affected by the situation in the overview, I would say that it's quite neutral from the portfolio perspective. Dr. A2SAT yields positive outcome, but other than that, it's quite neutral. But for negative impact, that is the GovDig, this is as a result of the lower number of tourists, and also the closure of golf courses. And also Shom Shop is another startup with negative impact. The other one is Event Pop, but for Event Pop, we just divested, and the return, and we received back the return at the minimum. So that is all for my part. Next, I would like to invite Mr. Narongpon to report on the growth of the company. So, good afternoon, all analysts. This is Narongpon, the Vice President and also Venture Capital Business Development Officer. So, from the last analyst meeting, I would like to just give you the update and also recap as well. As I have mentioned earlier, that prior to 2019, we focus on investing in the digital service platform in order to add to the core business, whether in the consumer market and also enterprise market. But in majority, we will invest. We invested in Thailand and also Singapore, for example, Delta Farm or other Thai company working in cybersecurity. Now, that company has become partner with AIS Enterprise and also Igloo that is working with us to develop products with AES, for example, car insurance, vehicle insurance, or mobile screen insurance, for example, and also other companies that we can see in my AES application. So in terms of investment in digital service platform will be continued, but however, from 2019 onwards, that is considered the tipping point of telecommunications sector because we started to deploy 5G technology in a larger scale. So we are now seeking investment in the 5G related technology and startups, and it is quite hard to find in this region. So in 2021, that is why we adjusted our investment strategy. Apart from investing in this region, we try to expand our investment to the United States and Israel. And also, we invested in VC fund, which is the first fund that we invested. And we try to seek the fund that is investing in the emerging technology. And we started the project of Venture Builder, starting from the health tech business that we work with the expertise within the same ecosystem, the health tech startups, the medical personnel to enhance the level of health tech using 5G technology. So in summary for this particular slide, the goal remains the same. We are trying to invest in order to increase the efficiency of our core business and trying to seek new S-curve investment for our company. Next slide, please. Also, for the investment theme that remains the same over the last 5 years, we have approved investment in health tech sector in the total of 2 companies focusing on early diagnosis of diseases using our mobile handsets. That is the business that has gained interest from health tech sectors in other countries, and we are now trying to expand and also scale up that using the 5G technology. Another company that we invested in is the EdTech company that is focusing on micro learning, which means that the learning process it is easier to comprehend and digest, easier learning, faster learning, which is compatible and also appropriate for dynamic companies that is looking forward to the higher learning process of their employees, which we think we can scale that up and also expand the coverage as well. And the total investment cost is at about 200 million for these 2 companies. Also, for the Fund of Fund update, we have executed contract with Viola Ventures for the total cost of 5 million USD. And Viola Ventures is investing in emerging technologies covering the investment theme of INTOUCH and also other themes which may be related to us in the future, so that this will allow us to have access to other companies, other tech companies, for example, in Israel and also in the United States in a faster manner. And we expect that we will have more than 1,000 companies that we can consider investing in for this year. And we can also use the technology acquired in order to connect with AS and Thaicom to seek further business opportunity in Thailand as well. We now adopt the health tech technology and work with a hospital, one private hospitals and also AAS as well as a pilot project. Next slide, please. For Invent Builder project, we launched this project at the beginning of this year, and we invited health startup to develop new business with us. We have 108 applicants from all over the country who are medical professionals and also medical students and also others individuals who have existing health tech products, and we selected 3 teams to work with us in order to develop new businesses. And we supported these 3 teams and provide them with mentors who can assist them and also to provide them with further knowledge as well. The project will cover the span of 12 months and can be divided into 3 phases. We have already covered and completed the first phase. Now we're in the second phase. And we expect that with this particular project, we will be able to launch new products towards the end of this year or beginning of next year. This is the update in terms of new businesses. So next, I would like to give the floor to the Q&A session. You can send in your names or your names and questions in the Zoom chat box in Thai and English. So I would like to have the first question, please.
So I think I'll go. Pisut from Kasikorn Securities. I have 3 questions. First is about home shopping. Can Kim update a little bit because we have more viewers because of work from home? Is that better from home shopping? And in the future, how do you see this and what's your exit plan for this?
จะให้ตอบเลยใช่ไหมครับ
ดีไหมครับเดี๋ยวลืมครับ
ครับได้ครับก็
Sure, I can answer that. So I think we are in the process of rationalizing that. In terms of performance, it's not going very well. So even if people are at home watching TV, but our home shopping is not really, we are still in the negative in terms of performance, but we are in the process of considering exit. So in connection to that, if we're exiting, if you're selling, will there be negative impact on our P&L or the dividend? I don't think it's going to be that significant impact. So in terms of P&L, so high shopping, the equity is at the negative. So the investment in high shopping is actually at 0. Thank you. The next question is, I remember that we invested in Ninja Van. Have we divested? If we haven't divested, if you see the Curry Express that has just IPO'd or Flash Express that have done the fundraising Series E, and Gojek have exited the market. So my question to you is, the Ninja Van, is the business better amidst this price war in terms of the express delivery business? So the overall Ninja Van is in a very good stage, quite good. Right now, the performance has improved. And the good thing about Ninja, one of the good things about Ninja Van is they're actually investing in other countries as well. And they are able to expand their business very well in Indonesia, even though in Thailand it's aggressive market. But the overall picture is that in terms of the value, I think the current value, it's not we're not second to Flash Express of Thailand. The last question from me is that Thaicom. So the legal dispute from the Thaicom 7 and 8, we already have a dispute with the ministry. But right now we are entering the new party, which is the NBTC. So I think it's actually a negative surprise for us. So our legal status as the owner of the Thaicom 7 and 8, what will the auditor have a say on that? And what's the worst case scenario for us? I think we are quite confident on the rights that we have over the TC7 and 8. Since it's under arbitration, what is relevant, such as the orbital slot, it's going to be impacted by the result of the arbitration tribunal. But the NBTC is going to rely on the MDAS, that it's the asset as their asset, if they're going to base that on for their judgment for the orbital slot of Thaicom. But for ground, we have strong grounds from our dispute committee, and with the reasons.
อนันต์แล้วกันนะครับคุณพูดถึงเรื่องศาลไปแล้ว
Kun Anand has already mentioned the court. I think he's going to see the case that is pending in the court. We're going to make judgment on the pending cases. The consequences that will occur, that's going to impact on the public interest to million viewers with the so I think that's not going to be significant, particularly for Thaicom 7 and 8. Thank you very much. Next question from M Corp. Shouldn't there be more e-commerce activity during this lockdown?
ชมชอบ was negatively impact อยากจะให้อธิบายเพิ่มเติมค่ะว่าเกิดอะไรขึ้น
ฟังคำถามไม่ชัดเลยครับจุ๊บเอาใหม่
ถามว่าน่าจะมี activity ที่เกี่ยวกับ e-commerce มากขึ้น
So should there be more e-commerce activities during lockdown? I'm a little bit surprised why Chom Chop had negative impact. Could you elaborate on that?
เพราะว่าจริงๆชมชอบไม่ได้มีความเกี่ยวข้องอะไรกับ
Actually, Chom Chop has no relation with e-commerce. It's about redeeming credit card points. And that you can be redeemed for gifts. And in the past, there has been no customers, and that has no relation with e-commerce. Next question from Kun Supachai Yuanta. So I can address the question 3 and 4 that's relevant to golf. So it's actually difficult to say. I think both Singtel and golf, they have their strengths. So if these two shareholders can actually sing in harmony, I think the overall it'll be great. And the synergy that we see, I may not know what kind of value golf can add. So Kun Somchai has mentioned about smart metering, but golf can actually see why the benefit of actually investing in INTOUCH Group. So I think let's wait for golf to send in their rep to the board. And if there's anything, any progress, we'll report that to the investors. So if we sing and play in the same orchestra, I think it's just going to benefit everyone, to benefit the analysts and investors alike. So number 5, about the telecom market and 5G. So the 5G that we have invested when there was an auction, we think it could be too early, but with the current situation, I think we are at about the right time. We're not the only player in the market. And if there are many players, the environment is going to shape that everyone has to go to 5G. So where we are currently now is about how we can monetize the 5G that we've invested and how we can accelerate that. And as you can see, the strategies of AIS that they're trying to monetize from the enterprise business. And I think that's the main pillar. And they have set a very, very challenging goal. What's going to add is the digital service that's going to add on to the 5G network. So that's how we are going to monetize on the investment that we've had for 5G. Number 6 is the question on the investment on listed firm like Alibaba. So with currently now, not considering the new shareholders, we are investing for strategic values, not financial returns. So it'll be tech and startups that's going to benefit our group. So it's more strategic investment. So number 7 is the big risk for Thaicom. Mainly it's the existing legal dispute, Thaicom 5, 7, and 8. The figures are quite high, but I think the grounds we are actually confident. Another risk we see is about we are going to rely less on the satellite business. So how we are trying to partner with lower orbit and seeking more revenue from digital that relies on satellite expertise and also focusing on non-satellite business. Next question from Kun Nattapop Thanachart on the fund of fund. So since we are not the main shareholder, bringing in the company to synergize with Thaicom and AIS, how is that going to leverage us more power, or it's just knowing the company or gaining more ideas as well as the profit from the fund as a whole? Please. Kun Nick. So whether it's direct investment or fund of fund internationally, what's important is that the strategic value that we can gain with the company in Thailand and startups. So in the past, I think they are seeing the contribution on the local market that we have. And the Viola Fund is actually linking us, and they can bring in companies that can be of interest and they can test the market in Thailand. For the profit from these funds, the return from these funds, so the fund has just launched, we have not placed money in them. So the performance from the latest fund, we still don't see that. But with the fund that has closed down in the past, the net ARR is about 20% up and above, 20% and more. Next question. Question from Kun Pisut. Thank you. So Pisut from Kasikorn Securities, 3 more questions. So in the past, we have discussed about the holding company discount. So that's very volatile. So it's actually very low right now. So I'm not sure if it's about the tendering that's actually been extended because of what is happening. But I think my question is, after this, where do you see on what will be appropriate when where we sustain that? Kun Kim.
มันก็เหมือนกับ มันเป็นการเสี่ยงทายเหมือนกันไอ้เรื่อง
It's more like a gambling a little bit like company discount. But if we look at the main value contribution, which is from AIS, and coupling with the pass-through dividend policy, so we're not holding anything back from AIS that has been delivered to the shareholders. So in handing over these values, I think there shouldn't be a lot of discount because our company is not diversifying to other business that's not in connection to our business. So I'm not going to answer in percentage, but I think it shouldn't be as low as 20 or 30%. The second question is, so the key float is actually low, decreasing. If I remember correctly, the previous tender, we went out from the set 50 and FTSE index and etc. So this round, if it's going to end here, we are going to be out of the index list, and that's going to impact the holding company discount as well as the share price. So as Gulf has entered, they're holding 42.25. The free float now is about 33%. So right now it's going to impact a little bit of rating, but it's at the previous time is 2%. It's not like last time. And I think we're going to maintain the listing status in SET because they require at least 15%. And right now, I think the free float still has very substantial amount. So it could impact a little bit on the holding discount, but more or less, I'm going to reserve my answer for that. And I think new investors will want to keep our company to be in the set list in set 50. Thank you. Last question. So in board members, how many of them are nominated by Singtel? Can you disclose that? Currently now, there are 2 Singaporean from 10 board members, 2 out of 10. So if there are any changes with the board, to what level that there needs to be a meeting between shareholders. So if we require more board members, we're going to have that meeting. But if we maintain it to 10 board members, the board members have the authority to appoint other board members. Next question is from Kun Wasu. Please, Kun Wasu. From CGS CIMB. One question is on Invent. Do we have any other candidates that we can list to IPO or maybe sizable exit? From the previous time, the prime candidate would be Wong Nai, but that we said 3 to 5 years they would IPO, but we exit early because they merged with Line. Do you have other candidates that could maybe replace Wong Nai? We have a company called YDM that they're doing digital marketing. So they have great performance, particularly in the recent time, with minimum impact from COVID. And they are actually preparing to IPO, I think in about 2 years. And they're actually procuring advisors. And other companies, such as Shockback or Ninja Van, they are actually have very great potential. So I think if not IPO, they're going to do great in the next round. YDM has the plan to list in the set, and how much stake do we have in them? But give me a minute.
YDM
So YDM,
เราถือหุ้นประมาณ 8%
we are holding 8% shares,
แล้วก็
and
ผมไม่แน่ใจ MAI หรือ SET
I don't know if it's MAI or SET that they're planning. I think maybe MAI. Can you disclose the 8%? What's the capital?
30 ล้านบาทครับ
30 million baht. Thank you.
ค่ะเรียนเชิญคำถามถัดไปนะคะ
Next question from Patipak from Krungsi Security.
เชิญค่ะ
One question. So my question is on the study of infra fund from AIS. So it's probably not something new from the infra fund. In the past, I understand that there has been a study and realized the cost is more than the benefit that we gain from infra fund. If it were to be the infra fund from AIS, what has changed from the model that we see in the past, and to execute that, how is that going to benefit the shareholders from AIS and INTOUCH?
ระยะนี้ที่เรารีวิสิตเรื่องนี้เมื่อก่อนต้องยอมรับว่าเรา
In the past, we looked at infra fund as the source of how we seek funding, and we focus on cost mainly. And from our comparison, the cost is higher than other means. But when we revisit this recently, we think that, the differentiation between the cost may be a little bit not so much now at the moment. But now we're comparing to see if in the event that we need to invest in infra fund, we have to be able to prove to the investors to see how this will benefit the shareholders. And I think that there is more benefit than the cost of cost of investment. If there is going to be more higher benefit in terms of the value for shareholders, that would be good. Also, we are now assigning or mandating our team to seek or research on this to see if there is going to be any more benefits. Can you share with us in terms of example? Or in terms of what are the factors that we can see as benefit? It doesn't have to be exact, but I just want to have an idea as to, the moving factors. What are the moving factors that we see and we think that this is worth the investment, and this is worth considering in terms of the infrastructure fund? If this asset is going to be in the balance sheet of AAS, it will be just, the depreciating asset. But if we can convert that into the infrastructure fund, it will yield more value, and there is a chance that it will add more value to the balance sheet other than just the assets sitting in the balance sheet waiting for depreciation. Also, I would like to add that in terms of the value contribution to AAS, if we have to sell this asset into the infra fund, one point that we need to one point that needs to be considered is that most of us are now working on single tenant. Basically, if we sell, there's going to be only one buyer, but we do not really know in terms of, is that the fair value? Is that the value that we should receive, and how is it going to benefit the shareholders? That is one point that we will need to consider carefully as well. Thank you so much, Kun Bon. So, next question from Mr. Thapana from Tisco. One question, the floor is yours. One question, but quite going to be quite a bit detailed in terms of the members structure. This is just additional to the last question. We have Singtel, we have management, we have So in terms of the term and its expiry, there is going to be the 3-year rotation. So I would like to know as to, for those whose term are expired, who are they and what groups are they from, and the process of selection of the new person, how would that be? And is that going to be related to the board members that will be added by Gov as well? How is that going to be related to each other? Well, it is quite a difficult question. I'm just going to share the info in the public domain. So there are 2 from Singtels from 10. 2 out of 10 comes from Singtel. We have 5 independent directors, and the directors whose term are expiring are the independent directors. In the next, their term will expire in the next AGM. So the process of appointing new directors by the shareholders can be done if the amount of directors remain the same, which is 10 directors. But if we are going to increase directors in terms of number, we will have to wait for the next AGM, which is at the end of March. So if the number remains 10 and just proposing or nominating new directors, that can be done by the process of the board of directors meeting. But since we have quite a high number of independent directors, about half of the board of directors are independent directors, so the next AGM, which is going to be the 3-year term of expiry, will be for the independent directors. So the expiring director is the end of this year, or is it the next AGM? It's going to be the next AGM. Thank you.
ค่ะก็ถ้าหากไม่มีคำถามเพิ่มเติมแล้ว
If there's no further question, I would like to thank all analysts and investors for joining us in today's half-year analyst meeting. And I would like to thank all 3 executives of Thaicom, AS, and INTOUCH for sharing with us the insights. And we hope to see you in the next analyst meeting. For today, thank you very much. Goodbye.
ขอบคุณครับ